the powerful pawn. We've already discussed that the pawn moves in one direction, toward the other side of the board. But once he reaches the other side of the board, he is promoted. That is, he can become a queen, rook, knight, or bishop, according to the player's choice. Now, in most cases, it makes sense to promote to queen, since she's the most powerful piece, but it is up to the player which piece they choose. Now, at the beginning of a game, there are many pieces blocking the path of the pawn. Therefore, most of the pawn promotions happen toward the end of the game. And it stands to reason the longer the game lasts, the more important the pawn becomes. Let's go to the board. White is about to advance his pawn to a queen. He reaches the 8th rank and is promoted to queen. He also gives checkmate. What happens if a player already has a queen and his pawn is about to be promoted? Can he have 2 queens? Well, the answer is yes. Let's watch it in action. Black is about to promote. His pawn hits the 1st rank and is promoted to queen. He's got 2 queens and is likely to win this game. Likewise, you can have 3 rooks, 3 knights, 3 bishops, but not 2 kings. And you also must promote your pawn to something other than a pawn. In other words, he cannot stay a pawn. There are also situations where a pawn is promoted as he captures. Here's an example of that. So white is about to hit the 8th rank with his pawn. He captures the knight and also puts black in check. Very often the defender captures the newly created queen right away, but it often still plays in that person's favor. Let's have a look. Here, white's pawn is on the run from black king's attack. He wastes no time in promoting his pawn to queen. Naturally, the black knight takes the queen, and white takes the knight with his bishop. The net effect is that white is still ahead, despite the loss of his queen. Here, it looks like white's promotion will go badly, as the rook will take the newly created queen right away. But white has a way out. She advances her rook to the 8th rank. And now black is in trouble. If he replies by taking white's rook, she responds by taking his rook. If he responds by taking the pawn, white responds by taking his rook. If black responds by moving his rook out of the way, white's pawn is promoted and gives check. Here, black's pawn promotion is being blocked by white's rook. White decides to threaten the rook. As the rook moves out of the way, black's pawn is promoted. Of course, black's queen is threatened by the rook, and if rook takes her, he simply responds by recapturing with his rook. Now we'll move on to a very unusual movement of the pawn, en passant.